Wait, a KyoAni show that combines moe and yuri with a music show? But they actually play music? Jokes aside, Hibike Euphonium, a fall-winter anime produced by Kyoto Animation, follows Kumiko Omae as she plays in her school's wind ensemble and their efforts to make it to the national competition. It shows the effort and hard work they put into playing and practicing music in order to perform at concerts and competitions. Hibike Euphonium places its focus on the tireless work the ensemble puts into their music in order to achieve their dreams. However, the show doesn't just contain practice and character interaction scenes as one would expect. The writer for the original light novel, Ayano Takeda, adds what could be called subplots to add tension and drama to the story. And they work in the sense that it adds content in places where it would otherwise be devoid of it. However, this creates one of the main problems with the series as a whole. A lot of the subplots are rather extraneous or irrelevant to the core of the story and feel like an afterthought in order to include more content. They may have a sufficient setup earlier on, but that doesn't change their place in the story. Some plot points, especially the one including Kumiko's sister, end up feeling rather tacked on. In this example, the drama has an excellent setup, but the series could have ended without it happening at all, because it didn't have any effect on the band and, in a larger sense, the story. Other subplots share the same fate, as they may relate in the fact that they happen to the characters in the show, but they feel unconnected when the story has never made it a point to show people's lives outside of the school. Contrast this with real life, for example. The story of a 20-something-year-old man getting the chance to live a life as a high school student in order to rehabilitate him. It makes sense that the story also involves other characters' problems because the story is about how the main character can learn something from the lives of high school students. And this point is true for most, if not all, of the story. Yet Hibike Euphonium never has this link between the premise and some of its plot points. The writer, or even the director, Tatsuya Ishihara, makes no effort to tie in its relevance to the story. I say either or because I don't know if this is just poor adaptation, a case of KyoAni's anime original writing, or poor writing from the original author. The rest of the subplots relate well to the dynamics of the ensemble, and while they may not have the best reasoning for happening, they make sense in the flow and structure of the show. Which brings me to a larger topic at hand. The show lacks focus. It lacks a through line that connects all the little plot points both thematically and structurally. In short, the show doesn't know what it's centering on. Is the show about Kumiko and how she deals with the different things that happen in band? Or is it about the dynamic of the band when things happen outside of it? Or about the people's lives outside of band and how band affects their lives? Or is it a character drama that bases its premise in music? I couldn't tell you, and that's the problem. I know some of you are already thinking, are all of those really mutually exclusive? Can't the show be about multiple things at once? You're partially right. A show can have multiple different themes or things going on, but the difference here is that the things I brought up all require a different approach. They all have a slightly different way of looking at character interaction and storytelling. Yet the story doesn't stick to any one of these approaches. The worst example of this is the role of Shuichi throughout the series. When watching the first season, I had a lot of trouble with the romance subplot that existed between Shuichi and Kato, as it's entirely irrelevant to the story. In the second season, he appears fairly often throughout the show. When he does have a chance to talk to Kumiko, the scenes themselves are incredibly short. The fact these scenes are included seem to imply they have some kind of significance, or imply an element of romance in the story, but they either get interrupted by someone or cut off abruptly. These moments contain little content and lack development over the course of the story, only seeming to pad out an episode. The story implies an element of romance, but never goes with it, most likely to keep in the Yuri bait. I do have to commend these types of scenes for two things: their writing and voice acting. The broken, awkward nature of their exchanges are actually brilliant and well written. They really made the characters feel like they were awkward high schoolers trying to figure out how to talk to the opposite sex. And the voice acting really sold this feeling. The way their voices drop in tone and they speak in short bursts perfectly underline just how awkward their interactions are. Most interactions honestly made me feel awkward while watching them. The quality of voice acting and audio work as well extends throughout the entirety of the show. The voice acting is very well done, especially for Kumiko. Voiced by Tomoyo Kurosawa, she provides a good balance between comedy and emotion. Similarly, the sound design is excellent thanks to Yoda Sudoroka. I didn't notice the sound design until I rewatched the final episode with headphones, but the way they use field recordings of an actual street when people are talking nearby a street, from the sound of someone spinning around to the noise of multiple people picking up their instruments, the sound design is incredibly detailed. I couldn't say this makes the biggest difference for the story, and the audience most likely won't notice it, but I really enjoy the attention to detail in the sound department. However, for a show that has such good sound design and a pretty okay soundtrack, how the fuck can the ending song be so bad? I give the opening song a pass, but the ending song is terrible. Ironic considering this is a music show. As far as animation goes, it's pretty good. I'm not sure what you guys expect me to say, it is. Like I said before, the show has a very high attention to detail. The performance scenes are incredibly well done, and incredibly faithful to the way an instrument is played in real life. The only thing I can really criticize is there's sometimes overuse of digital effects such as bokeh, blur, and camera shake. The camera shake bothers me most because it's the most unneeded effect considering this is animation, not film. There's been a large movement towards making things look cinematic and film-like in anime, and I really don't see it as necessary. There are numerous things that animation can do that film can't, and the other way around. The technical quality and level of finish of Hibike Euphonium is outstanding, but the storytelling piece is really what needs to work here, and sadly it doesn't. It has a pretty generic plotline and lacks the focus and writing skill to make all of its subplots relevant. I won't sit here and pretend like KyoAni are gods at making anime, but they are good at what they do, providing somewhat entertaining moe, yuri fanservice-centric anime. And this definitely fits into that model. Now the real question is it really worth your time? And I would say no. Overall, Hibike Euphonium is a pretty forgettable experience and one-note show. And of course, Nakagawa, best girl.